Again, good afternoon. My name is Felicia Warner, and I'm the project manager here with Procurement Services. One of my roles was to implement the new system that I'll be showing you today. Basically, we wanted to put a lot of the power back into the vendor world as yourself and go paperless, right? So we're tired of that shuffling around paper. So basically, that's what the system I'll be showing you is. It's going paperless. Okay. Does this work? Does that work? Thank you. All right. Just an overview of eProcurement. eProcurement is an enhancement to the city procurement and financial system that applies to digital technology acquisition, goods, and services. So basically, I believe we've been using this, or the city been using this way back in the 1990s, and it was to assist you, the vendor, in procuring payment, right? And so what we did was we enhanced that, where you can do invoicing, see online do online biddings that's out there currently, things like that. Respond to RFPs, so that way you as a vendor can have more control over what you see, what you do, changing your contact information, things of that nature. So you won't have to come back to us and say, "Can you change this for us? Can you do this?" It's pretty much putting the power back into your hands. And so we just enhanced that system. We were charged, we being DPS, was charged with from the mayor to say, "Hey, let's stop all the shuffling of the paper. How can we better or more efficiently get our job done and help the public?" And this is one of the ways we came up with, or we were charged with implementing this new or updating our system. Okay. Delegate agency eProcurement training. Basically, I think they have it on it looks like on a monthly basis, and so they go in depth. So I give you a high level of what eProcurement is and why we went this route. Delegate actually gives you a hands-on, allows you to sign up at that particular point and go through the end process, right? So the delegate process is a little different from DPS, but you have some similar features. So I encourage you to attend, if you're part of the delegate agency world, to attend their eProcurement training as well. Okay. Okay. And so hopefully soon we'll have someone, if you have delegate agency questions you want to ask later on, they'll be here to address those for you. Okay. Some of the key objectives with this new system or enhancement to our system is allowing vendors to download and respond to solicitation. Again, no more bringing your documents to the bid and bond room right down in 103. You can actually do this electronically online. How many here have already enrolled for the iSupplier or register for iSupplier? Good. If not, we'll go through it, and then at that time you can talk to the Pam Walker-Swift, who's the iSupplier person that accepts your invitation or send out invitations. So she'll discuss that a little further. So on the city side, it helps us streamline the creation and approval of contracts, amendment, modification, ensuring all contracts and modification are processed quickly and efficiently. Again, it's eliminating paper. I want to bore you with all that. It's basically eliminating paper and allowing us to a quicker turnaround to get a response from you to award the contract more in a quicker fashion, an efficient way. Okay? About iSupplier, basically it's allowing you, the vendor, to view all your bid solicitation online, review all your orders, payments, and invoicing. Again, we went live, or the Delegate went live with invoicing via iSupplier now. Payments, all the payments that we have paid or in process that we have in our queue, you are now able to see that online. I'll show you what that looks like for a vendor, such as yourself. Update your company information, such as contact information, emails, phone numbers, things of that nature, or add additional addresses to your contact information. You may have several locations within your organization, so we will allow you as a vendor to update that information on your end. Okay. All right. First-time vendor registration, and again, I'll show you what that looks like in a minute, and Pam Walker-Smith will come to speak to that. Is basically you would be for existing vendors. And what I mean by existing vendors has done business with the city already and that has a supplier ID. Now, we are running into issues where vendors such as yourself may have 2, 3, or 4 ID. And if you registered for the iSupplier, right, you may have given just the one, right? And it may not be the one that you're currently doing business with. And so we get this question a lot saying, hey, how come I can't see all of my contracts, or I can't see all of my payments? Well, the reason is because you have multiple suppliers and they're not merged, right? And so with that, we have a merged team here with the city where we sit down and analyze each supplier ID. So if you have, like, say, 3 supplier ID, we get to analyze which ones kind of keep, and then we merge that together, right? So we want to do our due diligence in that when we merge, it's what you would want to see or what you would see, right? Because we can't undo it. So we don't just want to just go out and just merge, say, oh, yeah, I'm going to merge her with her and this and this. No, because we can't undo what we just did. So we're kind of taking our time with doing that. And we don't want to put something out there and then pull it back, right? And then we get all the phone calls say, hey, we messed up. So we're going to do our due diligence before we actually merge everyone at the same time. So again, if you haven't enrolled or registered, keep in mind, give us the supplier ID that you're currently have a contract with, the most recent one, okay? So we have, again, we have vendors that have contracts on one supplier ID, but then they may want to have like 10 or 20. So you probably want to keep that versus the one with the 2 or 3 or something like that. All right, so if you haven't registered and you're one of those vendors that have multiple IDs, request for an invitation with the correct ID you want to use. Okay? All right. Now, what we will need for those new vendors, we will need your FEIN. So that's a copy of your W-9, right? So we're going to verify, one, that you're truly a legit company and that it matches up with what the state have and what's on file. Okay? Again, I'll show you live how this will actually work, but for existing vendors, you will request a iSupplier invitation, and then for brand new vendors that doesn't have an ID or supplier code already, you'll click on New Vendor Registration. All right. Now, we also get this question pretty much every time we hold this workshop. Is my information secure? So we have worked with Department of Innovation Technology, is the city IT department. They have assured us that by using the HTTP protocol secure information, that it is secure. All right, your information is not out there for everyone to see. All right. All right. So we in procurement have a phased approach in rolling out various contract types. Right. Earlier part of this year, we rolled out commodities and some small orders. And what I mean by roll out is actually went electronic with it. And so as of May or April or something of this year, all of the commodities or brand new commodities bidding went live on the system. And so we're no longer taking the paper for the commodities. Okay? RFP and RFQ professional services, we actually have one bid out there now. And so as we get the bugs out of that, then as of probably January, February next year, whenever the First Deputy decides, then we will no longer take paper for the RFP and RFQ. All right? Work services, we're working on that. Architectural engineer, there's something that will probably be pushed out later next year. And then construction, we do have one construction bid that actually is going to be advertised tomorrow. So if you're in the construction arena, you probably want to look for that bid on our eProcurement, and I'll show you where that lies, abstract page. Okay? And then task order, that will probably be rolling out on next year. Again, these may change, but as of now, this is where we stand. Okay. This is our microsite. This site will help you as the vendor navigate through how to log in and register, how to view current bids, training materials. So if you forget anything I've said or show you today, then you can always come to our microsite and actually go through it, okay? And then if you haven't already, you can sign up for your DPS alerts as well on this site. And again, I'll show you what that looks like actually versus this PowerPoint and on live, and then how to navigate through that, okay? So I'm going to turn it over to Pam Walker-Smith, who will actually speak on the iSupplier and registering, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like once you get registered.
Good afternoon. I'm Pam Walker-Smith. I'm project coordinator in our Department of Procurement Services. In that division, I manage a unit called Shared Administrative Services. Our acronym is SAS for SASE. In that, we are the administrative hub to the contractual process for the Department of Procurement Services and the City of Chicago. Within that, one of our business processes, we maintain and manage the vendor codes, the City of Chicago's vendor code database, as a matter of fact. And with that, there is now our new database, which is the iSupplier portal. In the iSupplier portal, we're quite excited about it. What happens with that portal now is, with the vendor coding, is that now, in lieu of you vendor moving, changing your address and or changing your business name and or changing your phone number, you're able to do that yourselves. What happens is when the change occurs, the using department gets notification from the vendor stating that they changed their name, address, want to add a contact person, and they have to fill out a form F5A. that is common to our business process within the city. Well, now, since the inception of the iSupplier portal, you, the vendor, as long as you're registered, have the ability to make your own changes. Do note that when you make your changes, that does come over to our unit, and we have to review and verify the changes that you make, and sometimes your changes may be rejected. In that system, we do not have a method to send you a note when you get that email that says your request has been rejected. So now we are informing you via email that your request has been rejected. Why? Just an overview, how many of you are currently logged into the iSupplier portal? And how many of you have accessed the portal in the admin tab to go and look at your vendor information? Okay. What is your company name?
I'm a Delegate agency.
Okay. Mount Pisgah? Or no?
New Pisgah.
Okay. How many of you here are Delegate agency vendors? Okay. All right. You've been a lot of fun for us. Being that the Delegate vendors were not a part of the portal, the vendor registration, or that's all brand new. Even for my unit, we maintain the vendor codes for our contractual vendors, but now with the delegates coming on board to the business process, it's all brand new. It's brand new to you. It's brand new to SAS, and so it's been quite a learning experience and very educational for us in learning how to troubleshoot some items. So again, if in fact you've been into the iSupplier portal and you've selected the admins tab and you went in and looked at your supplier code, Felicia calls it supplier ID, the terminology is supplier code and or vendor. Terminology changes every year. So let's say your supplier/vendor code is numerical, and then you'll have an alpha behind it. So each alpha behind your your vendor supplier number is your site. Your site is your address. So let's say you have several sites, and your vendor code is 12345 space and or -A. And then you go out to the admins tab and you say, hey, I don't want my site name to be A. I want it to be Pamela Walker Smith. And so that's what you'll put in, because you're able to make your changes, that's what you'll put in there. And then it'll come over to us and say, hey, this vendor has made some changes to their vendor code. Review it. So when we review it and we see that the site name is not alpha, because the city standard is an alpha, it's A, B, C. You can have 10 addresses and you'll have alphabet A through F, however many 10 add up to, and that's the alphabet. So you can't change your name. You can't change that name where it says address name, because when you're, let's say you get a contract and it's going to say vendor code 12345 New Mount Pisgah. No. That's why it's an alpha site. So please be mindful of that when you're looking at your address and you say, oh, it's an alphabet, I'm going to change it, I'm going to reject it. Okay, so that's just, because that's what's been occurring, and so I want to put that out there while you're here in front of me. So now we have some delegate agency vendors and we have some contractual vendors. So if you are currently login and registration. So at the login part, that's where you have been registered, you've been sent an invite. We have two methods. You've registered or you've been sent an invite and you logged in with your password, and now you have a user ID, generally being your email address and your password. So now you can log in. And when you log in, you can go there. Yeah. And once you log in, your ability to log in is here where you see your username. And again, that is your, it's either your, well, it should be your email address. And then you have a password. Do you have a sample? Okay. And once you're in, then you're able to see two instances. We call them responsibilities. One of the responsibilities that you'll be able to see is online bidding. That's not my area. And another area that you'll see is the iSupplier portal. And there, That is where you'll be able to look at your orders, your PO numbers. You'll be able to submit your invoices. You'll be able to hit the admin tab, and that is where you'll see your supplier information, to which that is my area. So there's your two where it says Oracle Applications homepage. You have two responsibilities on the main menu, one being, again, the iSupplier portal with invoice. That's very new. And what that link allows you to do is all the same for which I've already mentioned, but you're also able to upload your invoices now. So now you don't have to mail your invoices in or PDF them, whatever is your process. You can type your invoice information in and for payment.
Which type?
Admin is a supplier. Finance is Latoya. So hit admin, please.
Okay.
Okay. And so at admin, so now this is our sample vendor, which is KWM Paints. And this is all of that profile management that's to the left. Is everything concerning your vendor information as a vendor for the city of Chicago. Hit organization, please. So organization is where we go, my staff and I, and we want to look and see what is your FEIN number. Scroll down, please. Your FEIN number is contained right there. And that's a social. So generally socials are sole proprietary vendors. But of course you know that FEIN number is 9 digits as well. So we verify that based on the W-9 that you should submit. Can I see if they have any attachments down here? All the way down. Okay, this is not the screen. You see if it's in general? I'm not sure. Okay. So for the delegates, just because you're here. One of the requirements for delegate agencies is that you upload about 9 documents or so, and you upload those documents and they're viewable here. You upload them here and they list all down there. And so we look to see, my staff, SAS, we want to see your W-9. We want to verify your W-9. So a W-9 is a requirement when you register for iSupplier access. Once we verify your W-9 against, you have a, based on what you entered into the system, we verify that against that W-9 and then we approve it. But you must always attach your documents and make sure that your documents have been added, and you'll see that in the Generals tab. Address book. Perfect example right here. Perfect. Her address name for KWM Paints is headquarters. We can't use that. Sometimes finance won't cut the check because they need to have an alpha site. And they'll send me an email and say, can you change this address name to an alpha site? And so since it's just one address, I can't change it to A. And I go to update, which is where you go to update. So when... So when you see where it says address name, it is a required, everything with an asterisk is a required field. So when you put in New Mount Pisgah as your address name and I reject it, now you can go back to that same place and put an A there. Well, no, we'll do that actually, because once we reject your New Mount Pisgah, we put it back to what it was. An alphabet, and then we approve it, and then you'll get another email that says these were the changes that were made to your address. But everything that is required is asterisked, and then this purchasing and pay, I do believe that it's a default, so you don't have to mark that. It's for us to say that yes, the city can pay, and yes, you procure, which means you purchase off a contract. That's it for that. This note field is dormant. It does not work. We wish it did, but it doesn't. Go to contact directory. So at contact directory, when you initially log in, you log in as an individual, but you want to add some of your other coworkers to the iSupplier portal so that they can go in and make changes or look at orders or upload invoices. So it's generally the initial individual who logged into the portal has to add any other individuals after that. So you can do that by hitting create, and at create, not that we have to create, but at create, all of the asterisk information is needed, and then it says create a user account for this contact, and then you would do that. You would click there, and then you would have to add their user ID being their email address, and do note that your password, that you tell your people that their password cannot be a duplicate alpha like AA and BB. The system will reject it, and they won't know why that they're rejecting it. And it doesn't. It does say that your password should not have multiple same character. It does give you an error message like that. So you should have single alpha when you create your password. And so once you've created someone, now you have two people there, and they both have a user account, and so they will be able to look at orders and look at POs and upload invoices in case the initial individual wants to pass that task on to someone else. And then if you have any problems with that part, then you would just email us at eProc support, and we'll support whatever issue that you're having. So that's for the admin tab when you log in. Now let's say you haven't logged in yet. You're not currently a vendor with the City of Chicago. We have not sent you an invitation because you're not currently a vendor with us, and you would like to be a vendor with us, and you like to be a part of the iSupplier portal because you are interested in doing electronic bidding with the city, then you would go to register if you're currently not already a vendor with us. So right here, you would go to new vendor registration and just follow the prompts. Follow what it's asking you to add. Everything that is required is asterisk, and a W-9 is required at that time. We then receive your registration request, and myself or a staff member will process it and approve it, and you'll get another email that says, hey, welcome, thank you for your interest, and here's your password. Do note that the password is followed by a period, and do not copy the period. Just copy all the alphanumeric symbols, whatever it is for a password, and the period that ends the sentence, don't copy that. You'll get an error message, and then we'll get an email or a phone call from you with help, Cecil help. That's it. So that ends my part of the registration. Thank you very much.
Now we'll talk about after you're in and you want to invoice. We have you here to speak about that.
That's okay. Hello. Can you hear me? Oh gosh, I don't know what this thing. Okay. Hi, my name is LaToya Vine. I'm with the Budget Office, and I'm here to speak specifically to the invoicing process. Specifically, or more specific, to delegate agencies. So in the iSupplier portal, you have access to create invoices, to view your financials, and to view your invoices that are in process. You can also export that information for your financial analysis or for your financial purposes of your organization. When you go under the Finance tab in the iSupplier portal, once you click in, you have three options at the top. The first option is to create an invoice. I'm sorry, top left. The first option is to create invoices. The second is to view invoices. And the third is to view payments. When you click the option under, actually the system opens up. When you click under the Finance tab, it automatically defaults to the Create Invoices section. On the right-hand side, once you get there, you're going to want to click Go. You have to create an invoice with a purchase order. So all of the delegate agencies have received or will receive a purchase order. So all business with the City of Chicago, you have to have a purchase order and a release prior to getting payment. So you're going to create the invoice with a PO, and then once you click Go, it's going to take you to this screen. From this screen, you want to enter in your purchase order and your release number. So you're going to enter in the 5-digit PO, which is 12345, for example, with a dash, and then the release number, which is release 2 for now. You're going to enter that, or for example, you're going to enter that. Oh, do 32010-4. 32010-4. So, Oh, KW. Can I log in? Sure. Okay, give me 1 second. I just want to. Okay. I'm going to log into our testing instance that we use for our delegate departments. Sapphire. Trying to remember the name. Oh gosh.
So once you got the name, which is your email address,
That wasn't going to
you type in that particular email address as your username, and then that password, once you change it to, you're trying to get in so she can, yes.
You're amazing. Okay, so this is our Sapphire instance that we use for our delegate agency training. So from here, we're going to click on the City of Chicago portal with invoice creation. And then we're going to pull up our, going to go under the Finance tab. And like I said, it defaults to the Create Invoices screen. So from here, you don't want to enter in anything on this screen. You're going to go up to the top where it says Create Invoice with a PO and click Go. So that's a good point. Some of the lessons learned that we've experienced is most users on that first screen, they start entering information and then they can't see their budgeted lines. So what you want to do is make sure you go to Create the Invoice with the PO and click Go. So from here, we're going to enter in our PO number, which is 32010-4, which is the sample. And once you click the Go option, it's going to take you, you're going to be able to see all of your budgeted lines. So once you see all of your approved lines, you can select on the left-hand side, you can select which invoices or which lines you want to budget against or you want to invoice against. So in this case, we're going to select the first line for personnel. And as you see, it shows us how much we have in our approved order, so how much we have available under that particular line. It also shows you how much you have invoiced to date against that specific line. And so the difference is going to be what you have available to voucher against. So in this instance, we just pick one line and we're going to go and click Next. So when I click Next, for delegate agency departments, for delegate agencies, this process is very specific. For vendor contracts, I'm not certain what the process is. So I'm going to speak purely to what the delegate agency responsibilities are. So first here, you want to check under the supplier section, you want to check the remit to and make sure that that information is correct, because that is going to be the location that your payments are going to go to. So if you have an EFT site set up with the City of Chicago, you're going to see the last 4 digits of your account available in the remit to, and it's going to default to your pay site. If it does not default to your pay site, you want to click the magnifying glass next to that field, and it's going to give you available options for your different supplier sites or pay sites. Make sure that you, so we're just doing a quick search here to see all of our different pay sites, and you can do a quick select, but that's very important that when you go into the invoice creation section, it's very important that you guys select the right pay site, because if you select the wrong pay site, it's going to be very difficult for us to locate your payment. If it went to an actual physical location, you may have to request for that payment to be voided and resent. So you don't want to go through that hassle. So please, when you first go into your invoice creation section, check to make sure that your remit to address is correct. So we're going to do a quick select because we know that this is our correct site. It says Site A, and it has the last 4 digits of the EFT. Over to the right, under the invoice section, we want to make sure that the invoice number has a specific number convention. So if you don't know what the number convention is, we have a presentation under the training material site, but you can also click the tip option. So it's an icon right next to the field that you can click on, and it's going to give you a tip on what should be included in that field. So for example, most agencies have not received a new purchase order from a solicitation that derived from the system. So you guys are all going to be considered conventional purchase orders. So the process for entering an invoice number for conventional purchase orders is to enter your PO number first, your release PO number first. You're going to enter your release number, your year, and the last 2 digits of the invoice sequence. I will say that this message here is a little bit outdated because this is our testing site, but in production you will see what the actual instructions are. And if you see a tip icon behind each one of the fields, just know that you can click on that and it'll give you a tip on what should be included in that particular field. So under the invoice number, you're going to enter your PO number with a dash, your release number with a dash, the fiscal year, 2-digit fiscal year with a dash, and then the sequential invoice number. So it would be 32, whatever the PO number is, 32010-1-17-01. So dash 1 dash, that's fine. 320-0-1-17-01. So remember first, it's the PO number with the dash, your release number with the dash, the fiscal year, the 2-digit fiscal year with the dash, and then the sequential number for that invoice. And so if you have a 12-month contract, your first invoice number is going to be 01 for January and 12 for December. If you have any resubmissions you want to resubmit with a unique number, this field requires a unique number to be entered. So if you are resubmitting, make sure you put an R behind your resubmission. And resubmissions typically happen when you are when your voucher is rejected, or when you have deleted cost. If you don't have deleted cost and you have not received a rejection, but you need to cancel an invoice and go back and re-enter invoice number 01, for example, you're going to enter 001 or 01A. It depends on your agency, but that number has to be unique, and you want to make sure you contact your department to make sure that they don't have any specific number requirements for your invoices. Typically, departments will leave it up to the agency to make sure that you guys have a structure in place. But like I said, if you have a 12-month contract, you're gonna start with January as 01, and you're gonna go in that sequence. Any resubmissions should have an R behind the invoice number. Under the invoice description field, we also have a tip there, but the requirements for this field is to make sure that you include the period of performance. So if you guys are providing a service for the month of September, you're going to put in that field September 1st, 17 through September 29th of 17, and it's going to end with a program suffix. So, and it's all digits. I'm sorry, thank you, Felicia. So it's going to be 09 for September, 09/17-09/29/17. Yep, just like that. And then we're going to space and put our program suffix. So the program suffix is going to be new for invoicing. Most delegate agencies are required to do this information on their written or hard copy vouchers, so this process hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is that it's an electronic system in which you're going to be submitting that information, and we've also included requirements for the program code. So program code could be HS for Head Start, for example. If you don't know what your program code is, please make sure that you contact your contracting department, and they will give you that information. This is a new system, so we're asking everybody, and we're appreciating your patience throughout the process. But as you get new contract packets, this contractual information is going to be included in your award package. So the dates that the goods and services were received, this field requires that you put the last date of the service. So in this example, the last date of this service was September 29th, 2017. So we're going to use the calendar function because in that field, it requires a specific format. So we're going to use the calendar function, but it's going to be the last date that that service was received. In this case, the last date that the service was received was September 29th. So we selected September 29th of 2017, and that's very important for financial purposes for the city of Chicago. We want to make sure that we're accounting for that service in the right period. So it's very important that you guys follow these processes and requirements. So the next field is your department number. Like I mentioned, your department will give you, or your contracting department will give you this information, but if you don't have that information, you can use the magnifying glass. So anytime you see a magnifying glass next to a field, it's a search option. And I always do a blind search just to make it easy. Sometimes you want to query down or you filter it down a little bit. You can search if you know what department you guys are looking for, you can search by that number, or you can confirm using this system. I know that mine is Department 50, so I'm just going to click the next button to get to 50 and do a quick select. When I select Department 50, it's going to give me that department's name. In this case, it's Department of Family and Support Services. Like I said, if you don't know that information, you can ask your lead department, or you can always use the magnifying glass to search. Another important thing on this, under the invoicing section, is the attachments. So it's very important that you guys attach your supporting documents to each one of your vouchers. This is a requirement that's happening now with your vouchering processes, so that should not have changed. The only thing that's changed is the mechanism in which you guys are going to submit this information, which is now through an electronic system that's centralized through the City of Chicago's financial system. So you're going to attach your supporting document, and it's important that you make sure to name that document properly. So if you're attaching certifications, please make sure to name that certifications. If you're attaching one major document, make sure you name the document voucher for January, and make sure that you name it properly. Most people's scanners will assign a generic number or a generic name to a document, and most people just keep that same name. Don't keep that name. Make sure that you name the document properly. In this case, we're naming it supporting documents, and we're going to attach it. When you attach documents, you'll see an attachment list that pops up. This attachment list will let you look at all the attachments that you have with that particular invoice. What we've experienced, and I'm going to give you guys some lessons learned since we went live on October 1st, we have experienced that there are some timeout issues that could occur. So what we're asking agencies to do is just be cognizant of that and be aware that you could time out. I believe it's 30 minutes. I would say 20 or 30 minutes. We can confirm and put it on our website. But when you attach documents, if you don't, what I'm recommending is that you attach the document first. You come back to the document. On the second page, you have an option to save. Then you want to recall the document and make sure that your documents are there and saved. If you select save at this point, the City of Chicago is working with our IT department to correct this issue. But currently the system, and if you can see on this screen, we have assigned an invoice date. The system automatically assigns an invoice date to each one of the transactions that we have. So this date is a grayed out date that is not able to be manipulated or modified at this point. This is a system generated date. Currently the Oracle system requires when you save an invoice that you complete that same invoice in the day that you saved it. It does not allow you to submit that invoice after that date that you saved. You will receive an error message. So if you are going to attach documents, and to prevent you from timing out at this point, and because we are working with IT, this is the workaround I'm recommending. Attach your documents, save it, go back to that document, recall the document, and continue on with the process. And so I'll walk you through that process right now. So what we did is we just attached a document. So I'm going to go down now. I know my line that I'm going to request money against, and I'm going to replace the quantity field. So the quantity field populates with the amount that you have available. You don't want to voucher for that entire amount. Most people don't, especially if you're in the beginning of your program. Make sure you change the quantity amount to the amount that you're requesting. In this case, I'm requesting $100. I'm going to go ahead and select next. When I select next, one more time.
Oh, it's already exists.
So good point. So we got an error message because my invoice number, I've used that number already. And remember, we mentioned that this is our testing instance, so we've done this test a few times. So let's put at the end there 0399. And then go ahead and select next. So when you select next, it's going to take you to this screen. You have the opportunity to save at this point. So what I want you to do is, and I want to show you guys what's going to happen when we click save. So click save, and I'm clicking save because I want to make sure that my document saves properly and that my attachments are there, and I didn't get a timeout or error message. So it's going to take you back to the finance screen where you can go and create another invoice. This is how you're going to query your invoices. You have the option of selecting the invoice status, which is going to be drop down. You can select canceled, unsubmitted, rejected. But like I started the presentation, I like to do a blind search and search for everything because I want to see what's out there. So I'm going to click go. When I click go, now it's going to show me the invoice that I just saved. I want to recall that document. So the only way that I can recall it is going to the pencil icon under update. As I click the update icon, oh wait, 1 second. So before you click that, do you see next to that you have an option to cancel? So let's say you've saved an invoice, you requested $1,000 against an invoice, but you really don't want to submit that now. When you create an invoice in the system, the money is reserving. It's reserving the $100 that we just requested. So let's say we don't want to submit that voucher. We want to, you can click cancel. When you cancel it, it's going to free up the dollars, so you can resubmit $100 for another voucher, for example. We don't want to do that now, but I just wanted to show you that you have that option. When you click the update option icon, it's going to allow you to go and continue with your voucher. From this point, you can continue adding attachments, or you can continue processing the voucher. So we're going to click next. At this point, I can view my invoice before submitting it, or I can continue on and submit the voucher. So what I want to do, I agree. It totaled up my request. It told me that my request is $100. I agree with that. All of my supporting documents are there and named properly. I've checked my remit to site. I've made sure that all of my number conventions for invoice number and invoice description, the dates that the goods and services were received, all that information is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and click submit. When I click submit, the system is going to give me a confirmation. You can print this page. You can also save it as a PDF and attach it with your electronic files. So that's one thing, that's pretty much how you would submit an invoice as a delegate agency in the system. One thing that I do want to show you is you can go click back on the finance tab. So if you click on the finance tab, click go. We're going to do a general search again to look at all of our invoices. You have the option at this point to, let's say you submitted, we've submitted this voucher, it's in process. You can actually see, because the system is a real-time system, you can see that now that voucher has been routed to an electronic workflow to your department for review, and then it's going to process to the Department of Finance for review. But let's say before or after you've submitted the voucher, you realize that you forgot to attach a document. From this page, you can continue attaching documents to your particular submission. You would do that by going to the View Attachment section, and you can add an attachment here.
So it doesn't do the math for you and tell you what your remaining balance is once you take out the $100?
Yep, great question. So the great thing about the system that I think is great about the system is when you go to create a new voucher, it's going to tell you how much you have available to voucher against. So we just took $100 from our personnel account. When I go back in to create a new voucher, it's going to take $100, or you're going to see that $100 being deducted from that request, because that amount has been reserved already and it's already in process. So the system is going to account for that, and you can see how much you have available in your particular accounts. The other great thing about eProcurement is that if you click on the View Payments, for example, when you click on View Payments and do a blind search, click Go, you can export this information. So you can export all of your historic payments that you've had with the City of Chicago going back to 2001. So as long as the city has done business in the Oracle system, we have information going back that far. So you can export information for all of your orders and releases. That's all of your agreements and or all of your POs and releases, as well as your payments. You can also export information on your invoices. So let's say you don't remember what your invoice number scheme was. You can go to View Invoices. You can also export that information as well, and you can view that information as well. So under View Invoices, do a blank search, and it'll show you all of your invoices. It'll tell you the status, if it's paid or not paid, if it's canceled, rejected. You'll get that information. All of your attachment information will be here. So if the comptroller's office deletes something in your voucher, they're going to attach it along with that record. So you'll be able to see your deletion sheets. In most cases, or in the past, we would mail deletion sheets, and it would take a while for you guys to get it before you're able to recoup that cost or resubmit for that cost. Now you're going to be able to see that in the system real time. That's pretty much it. So if you guys have any delegate agency questions, we're here to address those.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry.
For our invoices, like we have the backup for the line items that say personnel and your payments, do we total that and submit it as one, or do you need to see each staff person?
Inside the voucher?
Yes.
Oh, so the question I believe was, when you're submitting a voucher, do you separate out each of your personnel or your staff costs?
Yes.
So currently, you guys have to isolate your personnel from your non-personnel, and typically, you're going to provide your payroll register register information, and it's by employee.
Yes.
So it's still, that remains the same. The only difference is that you're going to scan that information and put it in this system. So if you're requesting, let's say, $1,000 from personnel for 3 employees, you have to provide the documentation that you paid those 3 employees and that it totals up for that particular pay period $1,000. And then you want to make sure that you pay your fringes, that you pay your taxes, and make sure you have your certification documents. All of that should be included with your supporting documents.
So the vouchering process is still the same, it's just the uploading.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Some departments request agencies to upload one major document, one major attachment that's ordered by signature authorization, personnel, non-personnel certifications. Some departments require multiple separate attachments, but as you've seen when we went through the sample, we didn't get timed out, but some other agencies have been experiencing some timeout issues. So if you want to go ahead and compress that document, you can zip it, or if you want to consolidate and merge all of your Adobe PDFs into one major document, that might make it helpful for submission and also helpful for the departments to review your supporting documents. But nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is the mechanism in which you're going to be submitting.
Are there additional questions in reference to delegate agency or invoicing? How about registering and iSupplier questions? No? All right. So as you can see, thank you, Latoya, for going through that. So bidding will be in the same page, pretty much, same section of iSupplier, but you will go into the City of Chicago online bidding. So I'm going to back up for a minute. So on our page, our portal, where you were able to see the login and all of that in the training materials, right? You get to see current online solicitation, right? So you will click on that, and it will bring you to a screen that looks like this, right? So right now, this is what we have out there as far as eProcurement bidding, right? This is the only bid that we're not taking paper for right now, for DPS. Now, Delegate may have others, but for DPS, this is what we have out there so far. This is the current. And so say you wanted to actually look at it, because at a high level, it just tell you, oh, it's a federal program thing or audit. What is that about? You want to see actually what is it about. How do you do that? Here on the detail, you will click that little icon, and it gives you the breakdown of where the pre-submit conference were, the deadlines and things of that nature. But then you have an option to see the PDF. So basically, it tells you what we're looking for, what to expect, what you should submit to the procurement specialist that's actually handling this particular bid. And so you say, yeah, I'm interested. Once you look at all of it, you say, I'm interested. See this number that it says 48 and 6? Well, you'll keep a mental note of that, or you'll jot it down somewhere. I want to explain the comma 6. The comma 6 is basically saying that from the day we advertised this particular bid, there were 6 amendments, right, or addendums that was put out. Some was system error, and some was that we had to change scope, or we had to change some other things from the user department that had supplied us with. And so basically, this 203 pages is what we're requesting for you to read, look over, get familiar with, and then attach what we're asking, right? And so, again, if you see that 6 or that number after the initial number, is because it's an addendum that went prior to that. And all addendums actually, it's at the bottom of this particular document. Okay, so we might have started out with 150, but when we kept adding on with addendums, right, it went to the bottom of this complete document. And so you say, yeah, I want to bid on this. This is something I can do or my company can do. How do we do that? Right? You minimize. And now you have your username and password, and you actually logged in. Let me go find it. Uh-oh. Sorry. You actually logged in. And so it brings you to this particular screen. So you will take that number and you will go under City of Chicago online bidding, sourcing, and sourcing homepage. Because this is a testing environment, the live 48.6 will not show. But you will type that number here. All right, you will change it from title to number, and then you will type that number there. It is at that time you will go through the prompts, and then it was going to ask you for all 6 of those addendums, you have to acknowledge that you read them, that you're okay, right? So say if you were one of the vendors who actually saw this particular bid from the very first start, right, when it was just 48. Well, you will get a notification because you had started on it, right? You had did a response, and you'll get a response number like this. And the status would be either active, requires resubmission, or cancel, right? It will require your resubmission because guess what? We have an addendum, and we need you to acknowledge, and we want to be fair that you actually saw it, and you may want to change your bid, okay? Based on what we're saying the new requirements may be. Right? So any of all your things you have bid on will come here. And it always will have your response number. Okay? Now, doing the system on your side, if we as a procurement specialist want to contact you or what have you, we have like a online message, right? We can do that because now we have, because you went through, you signed up for iSupplier, you changed your contact information, all that. We saw that you were interested. Then now we can email you, say, hey, you forgot this. We can request for more information. Or, unfortunately, you wasn't the lowest bidder or higher bidder, however the verbiage is. But we are able to contact you via this system. Okay? All right. So, now, if you forget anything we went over today and you still need help, again, you can contact us. eProcurement support is basically for the iSupplier portal if you're having issues there, or you see that Pam or her team has rejected you and you want to know why, blah, blah, blah. You can email them there. Invoicing, payment questions. You could click here and then ask your questions at that time. If you forgot your username and password, you're also able to click here, and then you're able to do that on your own. If you're a delegate agency and you want to know more about the delegates and their training, we have a tab on the portal. You could actually click on delegates and then read their particular dates, their requirements, and things that they actually rolling out. You actually have a support where you could email them here your questions if you have questions or need help with anything. Okay, we have videos. This is our online training materials where you could actually go in, first time user, how to submit, how to reply, how to change these things, address, update your information. We have videos, there's no voice to them, but you can actually, it shows you step by step on what to do. Okay, and if you just don't want to see the video, you can click on the link itself, and it'll bring up a PDF where you can actually go step by step. I would say print it, but we're trying to not kill a lot of trees, so please don't print it, but it's up to you where you can go in and view all that information. Okay, are there any questions, anything that I need to go over or address that that you didn't quite get? Sure. Okay, so great question. So the question is, since you can't go to room 103, how would you know who got the bid or who won the bid? Well, the procurement specialist, one, will notify the bidder if they won, right, the company if they won. And the second is that you, if you wanted to maybe sub or go on or they wanted to contact you, they do get a list, 103 do get a list of all the vendors that was out there or that actually bid it, and they do put that downstairs in room 103. Okay? It's just how to bid is a little different now for the electronic ones. And all the electronic ones, as I showed you, is the one right now. We only have the one, but tomorrow, if you're in construction, we'll have the other one out there on tomorrow. Okay? And then, but for the other bids, paper bids, they're the same way. You will go through 103 and all that, but again, right now we only have the one for DPS. Delegates, they'll actually be showing there as well, but I'm not sure when the other ones will come out for the delegate.